Fear is a film that takes an unflinching glimpse into deception, gaslighting, and predatory behavior that has often been considered to be the teen version of the 1987 psychological thriller Fatal Attraction, starring Michael Douglas and Glenn Close. Fear follows Reese Witherspoon as a 16-year-old girl named Nicole, who falls for a very charming and attractive guy named David, played by Mark Wahlberg. While things in the relationship seem very peachy and very well at first, but as David grows progressively possessive, it becomes crystal clear that his vows to be together forever comes off more as a threat than a promise. A part of what makes Fear so genuinely terrifying is that everything feels so painfully real, despite how over the top the character David is and how intense things get. On top of that, Mark Wahlberg's performance is just absolutely phenomenal. And while sure, for the most part, Mark Wahlberg's acting always gets criticized for being one-dimensional in other movies he's been in, but here, he is just in a role like I've never seen him before. Wahlberg brilliantly portrayed the character of David so well, with having like this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde personality, where it's like at one moment, David can come across as a very sweet and charming guy, but the next thing you know, he could just like snap at you at any time like a cobra. And I was like genuinely terrified of the character of David. Like if I legit saw him in an alleyway, I would like be scared for my life to the point where I would piss myself. While Fear may be far from being particularly a perfect film, it takes real life experiences and pushes them to the max, making a horror movie that is shocking and dramatic, but still grounded in realism, no matter how wild the climax gets. Coming-of-age movies in the 80s were magical in the way they related to the audience in the art of growing up. Movies like The Breakfast Club, Heathers, Stand By Me, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Goonies, and The Outsiders are often celebrated as enduring classics and continue to shape pop culture to this very day. However, there were so many other great teen films from this time period that were often overlooked or didn't receive the proper praise it deserved, including the 1987 film written by John Hughes, Some Kind of Wonderful. While John Hughes was best known for his works on classic movies like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and even the first two Home Alone movies, Some Kind of Wonderful is probably the best written film from the iconic script writer. Despite having a similar story beat of Pretty in Pink, the movie was like a much more improved, recycled version of it, as it was way more affirming about following your actual gut and heart. While Leah Thompson and Eric Stoltz were pretty good in their respective roles as Keith and Amanda, Mary Stuart Masterson completely stole the show as Watts, taking a streetwise rebellious girl and making her immensely appealing as a role model for young women, while also making her a quirky sex symbol for boys. Some Kind of Wonderful is a movie that is so comforting to watch, as it has such a great message and leaves a good taste in your mouth once the end credits roll. It really bewilders me that Gattaca is never brought in conversation when it comes to discussing amazing sci-fi films. The movie has such a unique mixture of genres, from sci-fi, suspenseful thriller, and also being a little bit of like a romance movie. An intelligent and thoughtful sci-fi exploration of eugenics and genetics, Gattaca draws important conclusions of issues of perfectionism and discrimination. The film offers a great commentary on what the future on Earth would look like if humans start depending too much on each other on genetic modification, and how people with less potential will be cast aside and forgotten. While Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke gave stellar performances, Jude Law was the show stealer of a tragic character of a disabled man, Jerome Morrow, who figures out a way to cheat the system as he switches identities with the character Vincent, played by Ethan Hawke, so that he can achieve his dream of traveling to space. The film brilliantly explores plenty of complex issues such as genetic manipulation, human autonomy, and selective breeding through its unconventional story and complicated characters. Not only does Gattaca have a thoughtful and heartwarming story to chew on, but it also has all the trappings of an exciting and gripping sci-fi movie that is a must-watch. Directed by Greg Araki, Mysterious Skin is overall a great movie, but yet very tough to watch for most viewers, considering the fact that the story tackles the taboo subject matter of child molestation in terms of long-term effects and resulting trauma. Child abuse is something that's always going to be difficult to talk about or to incorporate into movies, but in Mysterious Skin, it's done here with impressive grace. The film follows Joseph Gordon-Levitt as a 15-year-old homosexual prostitute named Neil, who crosses paths with his childhood baseball teammate Brian, a boy who has an obsession with alien abduction fantasies. Both characters share the same life-scarring experience, as they were molested by their childhood baseball coach that has led both characters of where they're at into adulthood. Mysterious Skin can be disturbing to watch due to the heavy subject matter. It does such a terrific job of focusing on the connection Neil and Brian make, ensuring that it's a film that will make you feel very hopeful than making you feel hollow. While sure, there are some certain scars in your life that will haunt you for the rest of your life, it goes to show you that there's always the light at the end of the tunnel, reminding you that trauma is something that you can overcome. I remember watching Buffalo 66 for the first time, and I remember I was just instantly glued to it because it's a movie that just really spoke to me, as it's a textbook example that you're nobody till somebody loves you. Written and directed by the controversial bad boy himself, Vincent Gallo, Buffalo 66 is all about his character Billy Brown, an ex-con who gets released from prison after serving 5 years. On his first day out, Billy meets a beautiful girl named Layla, played by Christina Ricci, whom he kidnaps on a whim to pose as his wife to an uncomfortably awkward reunion with his parents. Despite the abduction, Layla eventually falls in love with Billy, as she serves purely as the character's means of redemption. Despite the character of Billy being very unlikable and very rude, it was so rewarding watching his character grow throughout the entire film, as his progression feels very genuine and promising. The movie has a distinct, classy, vintage look that makes every frame so beautiful to look at, with its dazzling cinematography, and it also has such an incredible soundtrack. Vincent Gallo has gained a reputation for being intensely difficult to work with, and it's also been widely known that he didn't get along with anybody during the production of this film. I'm usually the one who always tries to separate the man from the craft on anything. Alfonso Cuarón is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, and in my opinion, I don't feel like he receives the amount of love or praise he deserves, because this man has so many great movies in his resume, from Roma, And You and Your Mother 2, Gravity, even Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, aka the best Harry Potter movie. But my personal favorite of his has to be the 2006 dystopian drama Children of Men. This movie served to be a real treat for me, considering the fact that I'm a huge sci-fi fanatic, because the way how it offers such a versatile commentary on government control while also offering up an inspiring story about redemption and hope. Despite its grim atmosphere, Children of Men manages to be a deeply heartfelt tale that features glaring cinematography that is so beautiful to look at, and excellent performances led by Clive Owen, along with Julianne Moore, Michael Caine, Danny Huston, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. It's truly a one-of-a-kind experience, and in my opinion, it deserves to be in conversation when it comes to discussing the greatest sci-fi movies of all time. The Boondock Saints is a movie that I just recently watched, and holy shit, this movie fucking rules. The life of me will never understand why I've been sleeping on this movie for so long, because I had such a blast watching it from start to finish. The film stars Norman Reedus and Sean Patrick Flannery as two Irish Catholic brothers who become vigilantes by wiping out Boston's criminal underworld in the name of God. As they hunt down and eliminate the criminals ruling their town, they become controversial heroes in the community and find themselves being hunted by an FBI agent played by Willem Dafoe. While the chemistry between Reedus and Flannery was undeniably great as the McManus brothers, Willem Dafoe completely steals the show, because judging by his performance, you could just tell he was having a blast, because every scene with him was just an absolute home run. Being a comedy, crime drama, action, and revenge thriller all at once, The Boondock Saints transcends genre and the audience's expectation with every scene. It features hysterical dialogue, a handful of ridiculous characters who are cool as fuck, and the action is just constantly exciting and fast-paced. Yeah, I don't think this was going to be a surprise that American Honey was going to be on my list of underrated movies, because this is a movie that I love so much, but yet it's a movie that nobody ever talks about, and that to me is a cardinal sin, because this movie is so good. Fraying on the edge of middle America, the movie follows a young woman named Star, played by Sasha Lane, who comes across an alluring young man named Jake, played by Shia LaBeouf, who recruits her to join his cohort of outsiders. In search of an escape more than capital gain, Star accepts his dubious offer, taking chance after chance as they freewheel across the American landscape, mesmerized with one another and enamored with their social anarchy, silently knowing it is only a moment in time, like their fleeting youth. What I really adore about American Honey is the way how it has such an authentic feel to it, and the way it encourages you to feel free, to walk the beat of your own drum, and to live your life to the fullest like there's no tomorrow. I can honestly talk about this movie all day, but simply put, American Honey is such a beautifully authentic movie that has an amazing soundtrack, relatable characters, and excellent performances from Shia LaBeouf, Riley Keough, and Sasha Lane. So please, 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 I highly recommend you guys give this a watch. It'll definitely be worth your time.